Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of my Wicso. Now, in today's episode, we are going to see a lot of exploration. Now, I've been really missing out on the exploration factor, so I will try to keep up with everybody else. I'm sorry that I was so behind on exploring the world, but I really wanted to get some key points done before I started more exploration. So, the first event of this episode, we are going to see Ireland actually conquer all of Iceland. Now, this is just going to be a minor event, but nothing really is going to change here. The English and Irish still hate each other, and this Luxembourg team, not Luxembourg, but Benelux team also hates England. So what we're actually going to see here is a war breaking out between Sweden, this Norwegian team, um, this Benelux country, and England. So let's go ahead and mark the teams. So here we have this war breaking out, and the Sweden country is going to get involved helping out this side much later on in the war. But for now, they're going to be marked as that. But here we go. For the first invasion, we're going to actually see Ireland. Wait, I actually did the alliances wrong. Alright, here we go. I fixed the alliance map, but first thing we're going to see first is this Irish team invading into the Scotland team. So here they're going to roll over them in here and here, but they're going to make a naval landing here since they have naval superiority. But they aren't really going to push no further than that because the Scottish are going to push them back here, here, cutting off that, and then they're also going to make a push into their Welsh territory. So let's go ahead and see that. And this is going to threaten the Scottish a lot. They're going to land here, here, and then they're going to land in Cornwall. This landing in Cornwall is going to be really successful since they got a weaker grip on it since they moved all their troops over to this little Irish Scotland area. But here we go. We're going to see the liberation of this little part. The Irish are going to liberate, not Irish, the Benelux are going to liberate that, fully taking back the Welsh areas whilst pushing into England. And then England is just destroyed over here. But then we see this country actually say, hey, why don't I just leave this alliance? I don't really need them. They're about to destroy. The English could put up a fight against the Irish and Benelux people, and I do need this war gain. So let's go ahead and say no more alliance, and they're going to break away from the alliance. So here they're going to make a push into their Norwegian territory. So let's go ahead and look at that. Now the push is going to start out like this, slowly pushing in across rivers too, but that's going to be less successful. And then they're just going to destroy this whole area. There's not really any major cities over here, so the Irish really don't care about this. So they're just going to encircle most of it, and then it all capitulates. But then we see, oh no, the Swedes are coming. So the Swedes are actually going to jump the Norwegians, and we know the Swedes are actually super powerful because of the Revolutionary War that they won, and because of their cause. But they aren't noticeably powerful. They're just more powerful than any Nordic country over here that we see. So they're going to push like this, pushing, not really going anywhere for captured territory, but they are going to liberate some Irish territory, which they're going to take after the war. Well, that's their plan. I really don't know who's going to win this yet. Haven't decided. So let's go ahead and say they liberated here, up in here, and then they're just going to take their capital easily without a struggle. So they're going to get all this territory here, and then the Irish are actually going to get all their land back temporarily, hopefully. And they're going to call it quits, leave the war. And now this is just going to be over here. So they're going to push over here, pushing towards their capital, circling it, taking some land across the coast, beginning a siege. This siege is going to be really short lasted. They're going to enforce it a lot, but the English are really going to have a good grip on what's happening, and they're going to push back and liberate all their territory. So the Luxembourg people and the Irish are just going to say, alright, well, this is going to be a long war, so why don't we just see what's going to happen, liberate as much as we can, and we just wait for the war to end. And they're just going to, wait it out. But they're first going to take some land here, and then we see a very temporary stop in the war for like 10 years. They're not going to move their front lines. It's just going to be a temporary peace treaty until they can actually set up democratic relations. But they're going to invade into this area here. Not really much else happening. Sort of like a truce for a bit, letting everybody recover for a minute. But we do see a peace treaty happening over here. So let's go ahead and map this out. So we do see a peace treaty here. Now the Irish are allowed to keep a few islands. Not many islands though. So mainly just we see a victory just solely for the Swedes here. They're not going to be complaining about what they gained and what they didn't gain. The Irish are actually going to be really mad about this. They're a third-party country intervening in their war and taking the Irish land because they helped them. So tensions are going to get really high between these two countries. So we're just going to see them hate each other for a while. So let's go ahead and look at some exploration. Now we're going to see some exploration in Africa. Mainly almost the whole thing gets discovered. Just small little pushes into explored territory happen. Not really much that we see here. And then we see Madagascar get fully discovered and some islands around it. So let's go ahead and update the water layer finally. Here we see a fully updated water layer. Sort of not fully updated because I've still got to do Asia, but that's not going to take long. But we're going to see lots of exploration in Asia. The Koreas really haven't done much, so we're going to see a little bit of that. But first, let's go ahead and bring my country from the Pookie mappers in. Alright, so let's go ahead and bring... I'm going to make them a different color though. I'm going to make them green. So they're going to be the Olo country from Pookie mappers, just green. And they're going to have a lot of control over this instead of partial. So let's go ahead and map that out. So this is going to be what this country looks like, just situated around this little lake. But they're going to not really care about what's going on, mainly focusing on trading with everybody here. But I did lose the trade route layer somehow, but we will see a reworked version of that coming soon. But other than that, we see all of Arabia getting claimed because I hate how this looks. I'm going to be honest, that's the only reason. But we see the Ottomans get it. That's just about it. That's all that we see happening there. So then we're going to see the colonial-ish powers start getting into Africa. So let's go ahead and look at this team right over here, this orange team. So they're going to expand on the west coast of Africa. So here we're actually going to see, oh my bad, that's the province layer that I'm working on. I'm going to hide that. But here we're going to see the little Arabian countries down here, Oman and this blue team, the UAE team, trading land with the Ottomans because the Ottomans are actually in debt from expanding so much. So they're going to do the safe colonial thing and trade off their African colony to the Yemenis country and trade off some more pieces of land in the Red Sea over here. So let's go ahead and see that. So here we're going to see this land get traded away to the Yemenis country, and then the UAE country is going to take a lot of land. So let's go ahead and see that. So we're going to see them purchasing all this land along the Persian Gulf, and then they're going to become major trade partners with this Iranian brown team. So let's go ahead and see our first sort of economical union. Shows. I think I better head to the door. Yo, I'm in a crisis, feeling so lifeless. Like, baby, what the fuck am I feeling? Alright, this is going to be the economic alliance layer that we're going to see. It ain't really going. But first here we're going to see an expansion of Korea and China. Here we see lots of expansion from Korea, and now let's go ahead and look at China. So this is the map that I have for Korea and China. Now let's go ahead and make this country that's going to be in the middle. So they're going to be sort of like a teal country. Sort of odd for this area to see Japan and China do something this unified. But it's really going to really bring them together. So this is just going to be from here all the way down to here, and we're also going to see funding from China and the Ottomans into the green team over here. So let's go ahead and map this out. Now this teal country is going to be huge, surviving solely off of China and Korea funding it. Now this is going to make it really weak and practically almost be China and Korea. So this is just the mix of Chinese and Korean into one language, one culture, one everything. So everybody's gonna say, hey, this is a new country, we gotta fund it. And then this country over here is not going to require much more funding to actually expand, since they're pretty successful on their own. And this gray country is also going to get some funding, but we'll see that next episode. So let's go ahead and see what happens. So this green team is actually going to be massive, dividing up a lot of land with Korea here. And since they got so much funding from the Ottomans just to get into Asia, they're going to connect up with this country in the next episode. And then let's go ahead and finish up the war we left off on. So this is going to be the last event for this episode. So we actually see the English come to peace. So let's go ahead and look at this. So here we actually see the borders in the British Isles actually being horribly messed up by this war. Now this is going to make the English really mad. And everybody over here is going to say, no, we are done getting kicked around and the government can't help us. So what are they going to do? They're going to do what any country would do, that with mass revolts, like crazy, absolutely crazy revolts, and rebel away like this. Now this English country ain't gonna see no war here, but let's go ahead and make this border look better. So here we go. So here we actually see the English micronation, sort of, but they're going to have a capital here in this city right here, so let's go ahead and put that in. Now let's go ahead and put in capitals for all the other nations real quick. First we're gonna do some major cities. Boom, 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 boom. Now the capital for this is actually going to be here, right next to the Koreans and Chinese, so they can get funding directly towards the capital. Now these two nations are going to be extremely unstable. They're going to be fully reliant on fundings from these two countries, well, only that country, but then this country is going to get funding from Korea, the Ottomans, and India. India is going to get funding here too. But this is going to be it. Now these countries are going to really enjoy these funds, really just mainly abusing the funds just to get the trade routes done, so that way they can really be independent and gaining money from the trade routes on their own. So goodbye everyone, I hope you have a good day, and this is going to be it for today's episode. I hope y'all enjoy it. So goodbye everyone, have a good day.